again, and welcome to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's show. Got a good one planned for you, and I know you always hear me saying that, but you may be familiar with Mike Rowe. He had that wonderful series called Dirty Jobs. He narrates that wonderful series of those guys catching the crabs out in the Bering Sea. But he has been talking forever about people not needing a college degree to be successful. In fact, we're stigmatizing those that don't get a college degree, whereas there is a world of work waiting for them, a world of opportunity. Our show is going to focus on something similar to that today. We're going to talk about Baldwin Preparatory Academy. For those of you in the southwestern part of Alabama, you may recognize the title of the school, Baldwin Preparatory Academy. But for those that are not a part of this southwest Alabama market, Baldwin Preparatory Academy is a trade school, essentially, going to train kids up for learning these trades and putting them immediately into the workplace. There are employers, I'm learning, that are very eager to get their hands on these graduates of Baldwin Preparatory Academy, called Baldwin Prep. And we're going to talk about the training and development that they do to get these students ready for the workforce. Before that, though, kind of something different with What's Working is we are doing this remotely. This interview will be held at Billy's Restaurant. Billy's been a friend of mine, and his bacon has been the subject of our What's Working shows a number of times before. And if you haven't heard of Billy's Bacon, it's well worth checking out. It is, and I don't say this with any hyperbole, it's actually true. It's the best bacon in the world. It's the best bacon on planet Earth. And I first had it and reached out to Billy Stitt. He makes it in his restaurant in Fairhope, Alabama. And I said, Billy, would you be willing to be on the show to talk about this magnificent product? And he did, and I became a fan of the bacon. And then after meeting him and spending time with him, became a fan of Billy's. Today, if you and I work together and things go very well, you're very likely to get a pound of bacon from me as a thank you gift. We fulfill it. Billy keeps my credit card on file. He fulfills the order, drops the thank you note in the box, and sends it to my clients with that thank you note and with a note saying, you're about to taste some of the best bacon in the world. Anyway, we're taking What's Working on the road for the first time in a very long time, and setting up in Billy's restaurant and the event space in his restaurant, which he kindly opened up to us. And we were going to record this show on Baldwin Prep there at Billy's restaurant. Again, doing something different. 2024 is going to be a lot of new stuff for me, and I've mentioned it a number of times on the show. One of those new things is social media. I continue to think social media is being where evil is born from. Nevertheless, it's a regular part of our world these days, and I've got to figure out how to utilize it to best promote this radio show. I'm getting wonderful help. And one of the new things that we're doing is taking the show on the road from time to time. We'll be doing it from Billy's Restaurant today. Baldwin Prep Academy is designed to prep this young elements of the workforce to be job prepared immediately. It's stuff that Mike Rowe has been talking about for a while, and Baldwin Prep is getting it started. Their first graduating class will be in the next year or so, but the true test will be the 10th graders that come in and get the full force of Baldwin Prep Academy after having spent 3 years. We'll talk a little bit in this upcoming conversation about the learning model. If you're an HVAC, we talk a little bit about HVAC. If you're an HVAC company out there who needs new employees that are trained up on the stuff, this will be of interest to you. If you're in cosmetology is one of them, plumbing and welding or others, what they do is get these, and these kids are volunteers. They come willingly and saying, hey, I just don't see myself. College is not my future. I'm ready to get out and start learning. That's what Baldwin Prep is about. And there are schools all over the country that are doing this. Baldwin Prep is the one here in Southwest Alabama. We're not going to talk about the uniquenesses of this school in Southwest Alabama, but the concept and why it's so important to businesses across the nation today. When we get back, I'll have Adam Seeley and Eric West from Baldwin Prep. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston, coming to you from Billy's Restaurant in Fairhope, Alabama.
This is Seth Cherniak, Vice President of Branch Development for the Jeffrey Matthews Financial Group. If you're an experienced financial advisor wanting the freedom of independence, but aren't sure making that jump is right for you, we should talk. Jeffrey Matthews has developed a successful program for advisors who don't want to be 1099 contractors and don't want to pay for their own overhead. We're looking for advisors who want the freedom to run their business the way they see fit, with the support that comes with a W-2 firm. If you're interested in joining one of our branches, or if you want to open your own branch as a full-time employee, let's chat. Our compensation plan is one of the most competitive among all W-2 firms, big or small. Reach out to us today at jeffreymatthews.com, connect with me, Seth Cherniak, on LinkedIn, or click the link in the podcast.
Jeffrey Matthews Financial Group, member FINRA, SIPC. We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. Again, we're doing something different today. We're broadcasting from Billy Stitt's Restaurant in Fairhope, Alabama, the corner of Fairhope Avenue and 181, just south of the Walmart, for those of you that are local. For those of you that aren't local, Billy Stitt is kind of a local landmark around here, a great producer of bacon, and perhaps we'll find some time to talk about that in the closing comments. In front of me, sitting here in this kind of event room at Billy's Restaurant, is Adam Seeley and Eric West. They're both with Baldwin Preparatory Academy. They're on a team that's creating something new for our area. It's not exactly new across the nation, but it's new for our area. And I think there are many communities across the nation that would be very interested in what and why and how and all that kind of stuff. And that's what we're here to talk about. Adam and Eric, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to What's Working.
Thanks, Cam. Proud to be here.
Thank you.
So let's begin with you, Adam. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and why don't we ask you to explain what Baldwin Prep Academy is and why it's out there?
Well, again, thank you for having us today. My name's Adam Seeley. I'll be the principal at Baldwin Preparatory Academy. We have traveled the country looking at different career tech schools, different schools that incorporated career tech and core into it, and we took pieces of that from each place that we went and kind of created a school of its own that will be in Loxley. It's a school where the kids come and they focus on career tech all day. So they'll have their core classes just like they traditionally would at any other high school, but we try to make everything career tech focused. So it's different in a model that the electives the kids take are all towards their career. So we won't have speech classes, we won't have foreign language classes. All career tech classes will be their electives.
Why is this in place? What is the need for it?
So we've met with industry. All industry partners that we've talked to have said that they hire these young kids to come to work, but they don't know how to work. They don't know how to clock in, clock out. They don't know how to show up on time. They don't know how to collaborate. So we are building a school that will teach those skills. So by the time they've done 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, if they get a Baldwin Prep diploma, then our employers will know that these kids have the skills to come to work.
Eric, where was this idea born from?
Well, let me back up before we go there. But Baldwin County Schools has always had a career tech facility. We've had North Baldwin Center for Technology, and we've had South Baldwin Center for Technology, and students have been able to leave their base primary school and go over to that school for a half-day career tech program. Those schools have served their purpose. They were built in the 70s. They're still great buildings, but they're worn out. And there was a time now where, hey, we've got to decide with the growth of the county, we need to do something different. We need to either build new technical schools or what do we need to do there? We got to have a plan to update these facilities. And I think our board, our superintendent, amongst others, said, hey, this is a great time here. If we're going to do this, now's the time. So hence Baldwin Prep started to roll. That flicker in everybody's eye said, hey, this is a good time to do this, and let's get out there and figure it out.
So the need was born out of, you said the time, but there There was not a corporate request. There was not a sponsor or something like that says, hey, if we come to your area to build things, we need a more reliable workforce. Was there any part of that, a demand from the marketplace?
I think workforce development has been a buzzword for the last few years.
Yeah.
So I think it was built on that with I don't want to say a specific corporate sponsor at the time, but a recognition that, hey, we need to do something a little different to get workers into the workforce, not wait until 4 years after they graduate. How can we get them in the workforce sooner and be prepared when they get there?
Yeah. Adam, are these kids coming because they want to? Are these, when I give speeches, I always determine whether the audience is a volunteer or a prisoner. In other words, their boss made them go as a prisoner versus the volunteers that are there to learn. Are these kids volunteers or prisoners?
Oh, they're absolutely volunteers. When we were working on building the school, our hope was we would have 250 kids that would be interested. If we could hit 250 kids the first year, we would be good. After our application process, we had 1,468 applications.
No kidding.
So, the demand is there. The kids want to be there. But a lot of it's because we're doing something different. So we won't have the traditional four-walled classrooms. We won't have the desk in rows. We know that kids learn different. And some of the places that we've been, we've seen where it's just flexible seating in a big room, kind of like a student union building at a college.
Yeah.
So instead of having individual classrooms, we'll have this big room that all 10th graders will be in. It gives them more opportunity to collaborate. The teachers will be able to pull them out into a classroom that's connected to what we call the pod. The big area is the pod. So they can pull the kid out, teach a standard, but then they go back out into the pod setting to collaborate with their peers because, in education for years, we have said or we have thought when a student is looking on another person's paper, that's cheating. But industry calls it teamwork.
Oh, that's fantastic. What an interesting distinction. You're encouraging that, whereas in the traditional classroom, you discourage that.
Correct. And,
yeah.
And industry says that these students come to us, they can't collaborate. But for 12 years, we've told them they can't collaborate.
Right.
We give them assignments where they can, but most of the time when they're problem solving, they have to do it on their own. But that's not the way industry works.
Yeah. Are they graded?
Yes.
So there will be a valedictorian theoretically out of each class.
Yes.
There will be a top performer out of each class.
There will be. And, we're working on trying to make our assessments so that they're project-based. We can do them in a group of 4 or 5 students. And then, you're always going to, people think, well, you're going to have that one child that's just going to sit there and wait on the answers from the rest. But the way we're going to fix that is with each assessment, somebody else will be the project manager or the leader of that assessment. So every kid will have the chance to be the leader in the group, and they'll work on that project together, and then they're graded together.
Is there? How have you chosen the curriculum? What is the curriculum? Eric, you want to address that?
Well, the career tech curriculum is industry driven. I mean, data coming from high wage, high demand jobs, that's what's driving the curriculum there. Of course, the core curriculum is based off state standards and what we have to teach. Adam chime in. He touches this right now at North Baldwin and South Baldwin, but those students want to be there, whether it be entrance exams or...
A lot of the curriculum on the core side with the state standards, there are standards that have to be taught, but they don't tell us how we have to teach them.
So give me an example of a core standard that the state says has to be taught.
All right, so let's take fractions. You
Okay.
have to teach fractions. Well, my construction teacher has to teach how to read a tape measure.
Yeah.
But a construction teacher, he's great in construction, but he never went to school to be a teacher to teach how to teach math.
Right.
He never learned how to teach math. So with the pod setting that we'll have, and we'll have multiple teachers in the room, then I can have a math teacher leave the pod because there's other teachers that are keeping up with what the students are doing as they're working on their computers. That math teacher can go down and teach a fraction lesson in construction using the tape measures. So, we're core teaching between our programs, our core teacher and our career tech program. And a lot of that is so the student learns the why. Because we hear all the time a student says, why do I need to know this?
Right.
a student sitting at his base high school in geometry. He's like, why do I need to know geometry? All I want to do is build houses.
Right.
But he never makes the connection that you can't build a house if you don't know geometry.
Right.
Because the math teacher talks in math terms, the construction teacher speaks in construction terms. So with Baldwin Prep, with us being able to blend the two together, then we can teach the math standards, but we teach them using construction lingo.
He sees that math problem in a stair stringer. He sees that math problem in a roofing pack.
Got it. When we come back from break, I understand you guys traveled a lot to figure this out because there are other communities doing this across the nation. And I want to hear what you learned, what you saw, and what you duplicated at Baldwin Prep Academy. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston, coming to you from Billy's Restaurant in Fairhope, Alabama today.
This is Bill Eastet. I perfected my baking recipe behind my live music stage at my little restaurant in Fairhope, Alabama. We have custom-made smokers and small batch bacon made just for you. So if you're looking for the best bacon in America that has been cured, smoked, and even serenaded by songwriters, you definitely need to try Billy's Small Batch Bacon. www.billysbacon.com.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. In front of me are my guests, Adam Seeley and Eric West, both responsible for Baldwin Preparatory Academy here in Baldwin County, Alabama. Today's show is coming to you out of the meeting room, the event room at Billy's Restaurant. Billy's Restaurant is in Fairhope, Alabama, at the corner of 181, just south of the Walmart. If you're not from Alabama, this doesn't mean anything to you, but I promise you, if you want some good food, you want to come to Billy's, and we're trying to do some new things on What's Working, and one of the things we're doing is traveling to record the show. Prior to the break, gentlemen, we were talking a little bit about where this idea has come from and the fact that you guys hit the road to find what was going on out there, other places in the country, who had identified this need and had found something to duplicate. Tell me what you saw in your travels.
I got the opportunity to visit a career tech school out in Blanson, Houston, Texas, Blanson Career and Technical Educational High School, and also DAC, which is in Ohio, the Delaware Area Career Technical School. These two schools have the same base model. They have a pod setting, which Mr. Seeley has brought up, where students are in one room, they're collaborating. You're going to walk in and you're going to see students sitting around, and at first glance, you may think, what are they doing at this school all day? They're sitting on sofas. They're sitting on recliners. They've got ear pods in.
This could be my home.
It could be. It could be. And this is what students today are used to. They're used to opening up their monitor, their screen, their iPad, their MacBook, and put their iPods in, and they go. We've got courses set up on Schoology. We've got courses set up on Google Classroom. They're doing projects with each other. They may be sitting right next to one another, but they're still talking on their Google Classroom. So you think that nothing's going on, but learning is happening. Blanson is that way. DAC was that way. When I first saw it, I thought, what's happening here?
Where is DAC?
DAC is in Ohio.
In Ohio, yeah.
Columbus, Ohio.
So these traditionalists, and I would put myself in this camp of, hey, the only way to learn is to sit in rows with a teacher in the front of the room who may look at students sitting shoulder to shoulder, both staring at their own computer screen on their lap, would say that's not what learning is about. However, you're saying you're developing learning based on the behaviors of today's student, not based on the way it has been done traditionally. Correct. I suppose we could go through the extreme traditionalist route and say we should all be in robes sitting on stones listening to Sophocles or something like that.
Right.
But you're saying this is the way it's happening today. So there are people out there that are saying they can't exactly learn very well in that environment. That's not the way learning happens. What's your reaction to that, Adam?
Well, this is the first generation that was born into the iPhone. They don't know life without an iPhone.
True.
Everything is technology. And if we go back to the old way of learning where a cell phone is forbidden, then we're taking away one of the most powerful tools out there. I mean, in the industry now, many people go to their phone and Google an answer. So why are we telling children or trying to teach these students you can't do that? So, it's very important that all the tools that we have at our fingertips, we teach the students how to use and use them correctly.
Yeah. I interviewed an MD not long ago. He was out in California, and he had extraordinary criticisms of the way medicine is taught today. And the students are prohibited from using that phone in their pocket, which is by far the most powerful device they can get their hands on beyond any sort of EKG tool or any sort of MRI tool. And he was suggesting what you're suggesting there. This needs to be a part of training and development. We can't pretend that it's not out there. What about soft skills? So let's see. I had a conversation with someone the other day. It was Catherine Ahrensberg, and she has a landscape architecture company. And she said she came out of LSU knowing everything she could about landscape architecture, but what she didn't know was how to get customers, to talk to customers, how to treat them well so that they would want to renew with her if that was the thing. Those are not technical skills. Those are soft skills. Correct. What are you guys doing about soft skills, Eric?
That is the balance with these screens. Whether it be a phone or an iPad, we have to be careful, and we have to make sure that our students sometimes look up.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
They look up and they look you in the eyes. From an industry standpoint, we had the opportunity to watch our culinary students yesterday. Really, really, really Baldwin proud of them on how they spoke to judges in their competition. They looked them in the eye. They said hello. They said their name. Mm-hmm. They introduced themselves, what their name is and what their school is and what they're cooking. And those things are so important. CTE does a great job just in general with CTSOs.
Help me with the acronyms.
Our organizations, our FFAs, our FBLAs, our FCCLAs, our Skills USA, all those. Well, I don't call them clubs, organizations, but as part of their competitions, there is that component where they have to do that. They're forced to communicate. They're forced to talk. They're forced to look you in the eye. They're forced to either prepare a speech, whether it be on the fly, prepared public speaking, or whether it be extemporaneous. They're given a topic and they have to speak about it. So those things are embedded in CTE, and I don't think.
I'm going to ask you to pause. CTE. What does that stand for?
Career Tech Education.
Okay, CTE. Thank you.
Education is a world of acronyms.
Yes, it is. I've learned that in the past 30 seconds.
That's right. CTE, Career Tech Education.
Some of the things that Baldwin Prep specifically will do on soft skills is it will be the only high school in Baldwin County that requires uniforms. And we will require industry-specific uniforms. So if you're in our health science programs, you wear scrubs. If you're in our cosmetology program, you wear scrubs, which I've never had my hair cut by someone wearing scrubs, but for some reason that is the standard. So we're going to teach students how to dress for the job. We're going to teach time management because every student will have to clock in and clock out like a job when they come to school, which we will call work.
Yeah.
They will have to clock out when they leave. We'll teach problem solving and teamwork, communication, collaboration through our pod setting where the students have to work together.
When you say teach, is this formal training or is this coaching along the way in a project? Is that something that the teachers are responsible to do? Or is there, all right, we're now going to go to a class on time management?
It won't be a class. It'll be embedded in.
Got it. Yeah. What do you expect this first crop of students who come out, which will be in what year?
Well, seniors next year will come only half a day. They'll still stay at their base school and they'll come. 10th and 11th graders will be full time, but our 10th grade group is our group that will get all 3 years, and we can really see the progression.
What do you expect their prospects to be once out of the school?
Well, our plan is they're going to have multiple industry credentials. We're going to push credentials very hard. We want every student in the school to get either OSHA 10 or OSHA 30, depending on their program. Like our welding kids will get NCCER certifications, AWS certifications. So we hope they get multiple certifications, which means when they graduate, they have multiple job offers.
Yeah. Do you have, and I want to say this next segment on the corporate I don't know if we call them partnerships or cheerleaders or what. But do you expect there to be a line of employers kind of feeding on this bait as they come out of the school?
Absolutely.
What is that your hope, or is that something you know?
At this point, that is something we know.
Yeah.
There are many industries that are reached out to us. They're excited about the students or the employees that we're going to send to them. They're all wanting to be involved in the curriculum on the career tech side, so that that's our goal, is to make sure the students have what it is that industry needs them to have when they leave.
So what are the career tech paths? You mentioned cosmetology, you mentioned healthcare. Can you rattle some off?
I can rattle them off. We've got advertising design. We've got automotive technology. We've got aviation. We've got a partnership with Coastal Community College for aviation, construction technology. You said cosmetology, culinary arts. That's a popular one. Cybersecurity. That's one we're all stepping into and learning about. That's a new one for this school, and I think even for this area. Health science, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, mechatronics, teacher cadet, welding.
This is awesome. We'll come back after this break. I want to talk about these corporate partnerships where we can. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. Be right back from Billy Stitt's Restaurant in Fairhope, Alabama.
This is Seth Cherniak, Vice President of Branch Development for the Jeffrey Matthews Financial Group. If you're an experienced financial advisor wanting the freedom of independence but aren't sure making that jump is right for you, we should talk. Jeffrey Matthews has developed a successful program for advisors who don't want to be 1099 contractors and don't want to pay for their own overhead. We're looking for advisors who want the freedom to run their business the way they see fit, with the support that comes with a W-2 firm. If you're interested in joining one of our branches, or if you want to open your own branch as a full-time employee, let's chat. Our compensation plan is one of the most competitive among all W-2 firms, big or small. Reach out to us today at jeffreymatthews.com, connect with me, Seth Cherniak, on LinkedIn, or click the link in the podcast.
Jeffrey Matthews Financial Group, member FINRA, SIPC. I'm sitting in the event room at Billy Stitt's Restaurant in Fairhope, Alabama, where he has graciously opened it up for us to host this conversation. In front of me is Adam Seeley and Eric West. They're both with Baldwin Preparatory Academy. They're creating something for our area here in Southwest Alabama that has been created across the country in different forms of getting this next generation ready for the workforce and putting them right into the workforce as soon as they receive their diploma. We talked about a line of employers that you know are waiting to hire them, particularly in Baldwin County, which is the fastest growing county in the state of Alabama. And there have got to be other people out there listening in different parts of the country that are wondering, what does the corporate side have to do with this? Are there employers out there sponsoring the learning, for example, HVAC? And I'm curious what you think about that. In fact, I was with one of my clients last week called Mingledorff's, and apparently they are a sponsor. Let me get the terminology correct. I'll ask you to correct me.
Correct.
Because they recognize the need for HVAC training. Mingledorff's is a distributor, I think, or either I get my terminology mixed up. Tell me about that partnership. I won't want you to go anywhere you shouldn't, but tell me a little bit about that partnership and others like it, if you could.
So Mingledorff's is a distributor of Carrier and Bryant HVAC units. Because of the need in the area, Mingledorff's has stepped up and donated equipment to us. So they've donated multiple units for our students to work on and learn on. Other industries throughout Baldwin County, Mobile County are doing the exact same thing. They're either donating monetary, they're donating equipment, or they're donating their time. Because I've told all the industry partners out there, we want you in the building as much as possible.
Oh, really?
We want you in the building. We want you teaching lessons. We want you meeting with our students. We want you on a first name basis with our students. So what I've told them is 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, come as much as you want, because I'm giving you a 3-year interview process before the student even graduates.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. What does Mingledorff's hope to get out of this?
Mingledorff's hopes that we put HVAC kids into the field, not under Mingledorff's, because Mingledorff's is the distributor.
Right.
But the more students that are out there working, the more students that are starting their own company, the more product that Mingledorff's is selling.
Yeah.
So, Mingledorff's helps us so that we can help them.
It reminds me of Apple many, many years ago giving students Apple computers when they were young in the hopes that it would embed in them, if you will, so that when they hit the professional workplace, they were using those computers. They developed a bias for that. And Mingledorff's is doing that for Carrier and Bryant equipment so that when these kids have a chance to sell, they'll do so. Let me ask you a tough question, what I think may be a tough question. Are you teaching entrepreneurship? You sound like you're creating a wonderful batch of employees, which I know the workplace needs. But is there somebody in there saying, I don't want to work for an air conditioning dealer. I want to be the air conditioning dealer. Is there any conversation around entrepreneurship?
There is, and we're looking at it for possibly senior year.
Yeah.
Senior year is the year where they can kind of branch out into something different. We kind of have their courses set 10th, 11th, and first semester of 12th grade year. But moving past that, they could, depending on the program, automotive technology. You may do entrepreneurship because you want to start your own
mechanic shop.
Mechanic shop. Thank you. Couldn't think of the word.
Yeah.
Or they may want to focus towards diesel.
Right.
Or they may want to stay on, your traditional light duty. Or we have programs in partnerships with Ford, Toyota, GM with their training programs so that the senior, their second semester, could go through the entire Ford employee online training program. So when they graduate, they go directly to the Ford dealership, and all of that's already out of the way.
The Ford dealership, not the Ford manufacturer,
Correct.
The local
The
dealerships. Is it safe to say that the education that you're giving these students is in order to keep them locally? Do we want to keep these kids? We're investing in them, and we're saying, hey, we're not training you to move to Detroit to work on Fords. We're training you to work down the street to work
Correct.
on Fords.
Absolutely.
That would be the main goal. But then at the same time, if we train a kid up and he goes to Detroit, as long as we've made him successful, then I feel like we've done our job.
Yeah.
No hard feelings, but hopefully you'll stick around. But
yeah. So when word got out of this Baldwin Prep Academy coming out, being the next level of what used to exist, did you get a surge of interest from employers saying, how do we get involved? Kind of, we told the Mingledorff story a moment ago. I suspect, did they come to you? Did you go to them? Did they recognize the need and say, hey, we want in?
They have come to us.
They have come to us. Who else, what other types of employers have come to you when the word got out?
We've had employers from every program that we will offer. We're offering 12 programs. We've had industry from all 12 programs that have shown interest.
No kidding. So
and even programs we don't offer, and
Correct.
to the point where we've had to say, hey, let's get this ball rolling. That maybe in the future, that's something we can circle back to.
Sure.
But we need to focus right here on these main industry programs. But then eventually, hopefully, there's plans, there's land, maybe add on. The sky's the limit with this. So.
Can you give me an example of who's come to you that you've said, after we get the ball rolling, we'll circle back? What type of industry?
Auto collision.
Yep.
Auto collision.
Dent and repair.
They have come in. They've said, we will help you any way we can. We've had corporate people come in that deal with auto collision, paint companies, PPG. They've come in and said, what do we need? Insurance companies came to the meeting with auto collision. They say, we total cars every day. We can give you cars to work on. You just tell us when you need one.
No kidding.
That's right.
You guys really must feel like you're on the cutting edge of doing something that's desperately needed. Mm-hmm. And it's easy to get out of bed every day.
It really is.
It really feels good. It really does. Real estate was another one. I mean, emails from real estate companies.
What, becoming a realtor, becoming a commercial realtor?
Both.
Both, yeah. Learn real estate.
Learn real estate.
What about any traditional, I'm using air quotes here. Well, real estate may be considered this. Accounting, what we would consider office jobs or white collar jobs, counting, financial services. Have you seen those demands? Not as much.
Not as
much.
Yeah. Shipping, maritime, any interest in that?
I'm sure the interest is there, but it hasn't come
to you yet. Yeah. So let's imagine we're sitting down 5 years from now, 7 years from now. What are we talking about? What's the crossroads that you're dealing with 5, 7 years in now? Is it expansion? Is it we thought this, but this? Let's look into the future and tell me what we may be talking about.
What I'd like to see 5, 7, 10 years from now is that we've created a pipeline for all of these students. Every program we have, their employers ready to pick them up as soon as they get out. But at the same time, there's that side of what's it going to look like when the shine is off the building, when it's not new anymore.
Right.
Will industry still be as involved as they are now?
Right.
And we hope they will be, because, we've got to keep up with the new technology. We've got to keep up with the jobs that haven't even been created yet. And the only way to do that is with the partnership through industry. So I hope that those partnerships are still there. The other side of that, like North Baldwin and South Baldwin now, built in 1971, equipment is very outdated. So will we be able to keep up with the new equipment and to make sure that the students are being trained on what's being used?
I have a fear for my own son, who's a freshman in Alabama at the business school, that everything he's learning is going to be replaced by AI. I mean, AI is everywhere. Everybody talks about it. I haven't had an interview in the past 6 months that hasn't mentioned AI. How are you factoring in whatever this technology is?
Well, obviously it's not going anywhere. And really, we don't know where it's going to end up. But when I think about it, AI may diagnose the car and tell you what's wrong with it, but AI will never change the spark plugs.
No, that's true. Let's hope.
Let's hope.
We're coming to the close of the interview. How can people find more about you? They're going to want to look into this and duplicate this across the country.
BaldwinPrep.com. Go to BaldwinPrep.com. You can see our website that's growing. We're adding to it. You can go to bcb.org. You can find the Career Tech page. Or
Baldwin Prep's Facebook page.
Yep, Baldwin Prep's Facebook
Plenty
page.
of ways to find you. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm on your side, and I think people across the country are excited for what you guys got going on, and they can feel the need in their own communities. You're listening to What's Working. We're coming from Billy Stitz Restaurant. I'll be back right after this with segment 5, telling you what I heard and what's upcoming.
I'm Joey Mason. For 4 years, my goal has been to produce the best farm-to-table products I'd ever eaten. I've done just that at our on-site USDA facility in Grand Bay, Alabama, allowing us to ship directly to your door. This is true farm-to-table. Visit us at masonhillsfarm.com to see all that we have to offer.
We're back. I'm Cam Marston. You're listening to What's Working. After the microphones were off, I asked Adam and Eric, is there anything we missed? And Adam's kind of sat back and said, I wish I'd said this. And I said, hey, Adam, put that in an email to me, and I'll make sure to read it in segment 5 as I get back to my office and kind of collect my thoughts about today's show. And here's what he sent. And I think after reading this through, it's significant. He reads the following. Through a partnership with Coastal Alabama Community College, and I suspect many schools out there are similar, by the way. Through a partnership with Coastal Alabama Community College, all of our students will have the opportunity to get an associate's degree for free or nearly free. All dual enrollment classes will be free on the associate degree pathway plan. Some of our students will be in a program that will allow them to graduate with their high school diploma and their associate's degree for free. Other programs will have them 1 semester away from their associate's degree, and they would finish at Coastal Alabama Community College. And as I said, I suspect that there are similar patterns in these preparatory academies out there in conjunction with nearby community colleges where they can go earn their degree, really almost get a mastery of the craft that they're seeking to do, a lot of culinary interest, I'm told, and can come out and be prepared to enter the workforce for free. And this is significant. You're going to come out of high school making and probably put in a job where you will make, at least in our neck of the woods down here in Southwest Alabama, around $60,000 a year, whereas it's not uncommon for a kid that goes to college to come out at least $20,000 in debt. So it's pretty cool. A degree that has you working quickly, very little cost, and perhaps there are, in fact, options to get through for free versus those that have you coming out in debt. Another reason to take a look at it. Now, here's what you didn't see that I saw in my conversation with Adam and Eric, and that is the intentionality, the purposefulness they get in what it is that they're doing. They are creating, and there's a team of them. I only had 2 with me. They are creating something that is desperately needed by the business community in our part of the world. Much like wherever you're listening from, there's probably something similar around there. They're creating something that's desperately needed by the business community, which is always important. But I think perhaps more importantly is they're giving purpose to our young people at an age where many of them lack that purpose and that drive. They're giving these kids opportunities that are motivating them. These kids are not prisoners. They're volunteers coming there to be given a purpose for applying their skills of something that they like. They get to choose which path they take. Culinary arts, welding, plumbing, HVAC. They get to choose this, and gives them purpose in a world where it's often hard to find that. And when I talked to these 2 guys, Adam and Eric, about that, and I asked them, you heard me, it's not real hard to get up and go to work each day with a purpose like what you guys have, like what you're doing. Their eyes shone. They're on to something, and I wish them the best. That'll wrap us up for this week, folks. You can find what's working at all your favorite social media stops, from Billy Stitt's Restaurant, Billy's in Fairhope, Alabama. We'll have another show next week. As you likely know, this show originates as a radio show broadcast across the state of Alabama, and it continues to grow in both radio listeners and market. After it's formatted for radio, we then turn it into this podcast. Please share it with those you think would find it interesting, and subscribe to the podcast on my YouTube page, where you can leave messages and your thoughts and your comments, and I'll certainly get back in touch. Finally, if you're a fan of the show, please offer a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can find my book called What Works on Amazon.com. In it, I highlight the top 10 ideas from the first 200 episodes of the show. Mind you, they're not the top 10 best episodes, they're the top 10 best ideas. Many times the same ideas are brought up again and again by different guests, and we dig into those ideas in such a way that they'll be easily applicable for your business. Simply go to Amazon and enter my name, and you'll find What Works as well as my other books. Chapter titles include How to Find a Niche, Innovation, Building Teams, and so forth. To learn more about the workshops and seminars I offer, go to cammarston.com. There you can view clips of my work, view workshop titles, view my reviews, case studies, customer lists. It's all there. If you'd like a free copy of one of the chapters of my book, enter your email address at the bottom of the homepage at cammarston.com. And from that site, you can email me directly. I always love to hear from you. You'll also find me on social media. Find Cam Marston on all the social media platforms, and you may need to enter the numeral 1. There's one other Cam Marston out there, and that numeral 1 distinguishes me from him from time to time. So if you're unsure if it's me or not, enter that numeral 1 after my name, and it should do the trick. On a more personal and less professional side, I record weekly commentaries that air across Alabama on Alabama Public Radio twice each day on Fridays, called Keeping It Real. They've won statewide and national awards. They're simple observations on the world as it goes on around me, and they're only a few minutes long. They're a passion. You can find them on the same podcast app you're using to listen to this. Finally, if you're interested in advertising on this podcast or the radio show, reach out. I've worked hard to cultivate a specific listener, and I can tell you all about them, and I have many different options for helping you reach them. Thanks again for listening. We'll have another episode available soon.